Hi everyone and welcome back to the Knowledge Doctor. So today I'm going to show you how to build a powerful image scraper using Python, Flask and MongoDB. So by the end of the video, you'll be able to search any keyword and scrape the images from the Google and save them into a folder and MongoDB database automatically. So you can see that search image instantly. Enter your keyword and download image directly to your system. So let's search for, let's say Python, my favorite programming language. Let's click on here to search. And now let's waiting for the output. All right, so you can see that successfully saved 20 images for Python. And if I go on our directory, you can see that all of the Python images it is stored inside our directory. So in this video, we're going to making this application from scratch end to end. Let us start our tutorial right now. So, all right, so you see the demo. Now it's time to understand our code line by line. And in our Visual Studio Code, you can see that I'm creating here a file called app.py file. And inside this file, you have all of the code. It's written in Pythons. So what you're going to use it here, you're going to be using here a library called Flask because you need to creating here an API as well as you need to rendering templates. And then you also import here the request module and also the BeautifulSoup so that you can do the web scrapings and also the PyMongo. So it's basically for storing the data or storing the image URL in the MongoDB compass or the MongoDB database. So first we import here from Flask, we import here the Flask so that you can creating here and Flask applications and the render template so that we can also render a template from this template folder. Now inside this template folder, you can see that we have an index.html file that you can easily see it on here. Okay, we'll explain this thing, nothing fancy, it's just a super simple using here the Tailwind and CSS. So app.py, let's go on here. So we import here also the codes. It's not needed at all because we are not connecting it to the React applications. We are just do it in our same Python codes. So you can do it the cross origin the resource sharing. You can use it or it's up to you actually. If we're going to convert this one in the React application or the Next applications, and those time when you're programming or the origin is different, so you can using the codes. Okay, then you also import the request. So import the request and also from BS4 we import the BeautifulSoup so that you can do the web scraping and also you import the logging so that you can actually scrape our log file. I mean, what are the error? It will store it inside a log file that you can see on here. So if I go and hit here, and you can see that how it will look like. It basically having all of the informations, how the server is running up and down, and how you stop it, and how and the request is actually gone or fetch the data like that. Just store it for the debugging purposes. Okay, and using this logging and also the PyMongo, it's for connecting here the MongoDB database, no SQL database, and also import OS so that we can also creating here some kind of folders to storing here the images if it is not available. Now logging.base config, we give it here a file name called scraper.log. So I'm just going to delete this out because this is the previous file. So I just delete it. I delete permanently. Okay, yep, I cannot actually delete it because it's busy. I hope so my server is running up and down, that's why. So you can see on here my server is running up and down, I hope so. Yep, you can see running up and down. So that's why I cannot delete the file from here because it's also storing the data here. Okay, because if I see that in my image scraper, you can see that it is still running. That's why you cannot delete something from this the BS code yet right now. So I don't need to actually delete it, or I can just stop the server. And now I can easily delete this file. I hope so. So delete it and now move to recycle bin. Now you can see it easily deleted because the server is not running. So when you are running any kind of file from the server side or the Python code which is related to that, you cannot delete it because Windows is not giving the permission for that. This is also one thing for learning purposes. Okay, so library is equal to logging.info. It basically storing all the information. I mean info. I mean how the server is fetching the data. How the server is basically calling here the API or the Google search like that. Now, after that, you're going to creating here an application. Let's say app equal to Flux and underscore name. And then you pass it to our cross origin resource sharings because of that. If you are creating here your application, you can do that. And then after that, you're creating here our initial route. This is a basic route. How you will show the show it. You can see this is a basic route, basic render. You can see you don't have any kind of slack yet. I mean, any kind of route. So this is index.html. Let's go inside that index.html. So what we do, it's basic HTML boilerplate code. However, you just added here the CDN of the Tailwind CSS. So you have a body, and then you have some classes, and you have a neighbor. So that bar is consisting the text called image scraper pro. You can see on here image scraper pro. Okay, and after that you have search container, and inside the search container you have the search image instantly that you can see on here. I mean simple text, and then you have the p class which is taking here paragraph text, enter your keyword and download image directly to your system that you can see on here. Don't worry about this code. You get this code in the descriptions. You can easily grab the code from here. Now the question is why we actually doing these projects in our multiverses. Because of in case of classification tags or the image classification tags, you also need to search or you need to also collect some of the images for the image classification tags. So those kind of thing you don't need to go to the website or don't need to go to the Google and just click and download it. You can easily using these applications to instantly downloading the images. You can easily use it for the image classification tags. That's why you actually do it, right? And now from actions, we give it to here review. Now this review is coming from here. This is nothing but another route. When the users just keep here the name, and when the user click here the buttons, let's say this button, search button, it will calling here this review methods, and which is nothing but and from. So inside is from, it will taking here the image, let's say cat, dog, any kind of image you can give it to here, any kind of prompt or any kind of why I give it to as a prompt. This is not and Genia projects is nothing but a web scraping project. So let's say a text, right? And button is nothing but the type is basically the search. And inside this from we also have on buttons, and it is automatically handled by our actions and the methods. And method is a post method because we are trying to fetching the data from our server. Okay. Then after that, if the message is coming up, then it can show that the image is successfully saved inside our directory, or any kind of error, it will just show the message on here. And then you can say developed with using Flask and table and CSS. So pretty simple, nothing fancy. You can also make it fancy if you are using the React.js or Next.js. You can do it. Okay. This server code is also running in this kind of React.js application. That's why I added here this course. Okay. Now, inside this review sections, I mean, inside this review route, you can see that we have a review, and method is basically the post methods. And now, simple things, def index, and we give it here try and the accept block. Why? Because it maybe have some issues with the internet connections, or it maybe have some problems about the MongoDB. I mean, the databases. It may not connect. In my case, it's not connected yet. I'll connect it. Now you can see this query is equal to request.from content. Now this content is basically coming from here. It's coming from our index.html, which is nothing but a content itself. Now from this content, and if you can see that this one, so it's nothing but a content, and from this content, we can replacing the blank space with the we just removing his space from here because this is a query itself. Let's say I'm going to searching for here a image for Elon Musk. So Elon Musk, so we have the space. We're just removing the space from the content. And then after that you store it inside a directory, I mean, so that you can show it right now here, but right now you cannot see any kind of directory yet. So what you can do, if the directory is not exist, we're simply going to making this directory on here, and then you give it here an header, which is nothing but any user as a header. Because sometimes the browsers is think that this is nothing but an the automation stall. So browser it refuse them, it refuse it to taking the actions or taking the request from it. Okay, that's why just give it here any user. Then that's it. It's mean that this request is coming from browsers. So give it here Mozilla 5.0 and Windows NT 10.0 and Windows 64 and x64. I mean, it's look like that our browser is think that yes, this request is coming from a browsers. Okay. And now you're going to using here the Google image request, and you're going to using here the request keyword and give one GET request inside our httpsx www.google.com search and query and tbs equal to isc, and you give it here query itself. Now this query is basically coming from here from our content. And then after that, you're going to using the BeautifulSoup, and you're going to produce our HTML tag. Now inside this HTML tag, we need to finding here all of the images. So that's why I give it to her tag called all of the images. Let's say find BeautifulSoup and all. So if I go on here the browser, let's say I search here the Python, let's say Python, and then you can see that inside this image sections, you can see all of the images is on here. So if I'm just going to right click, okay, I just going to right click and go to inspect, and inside these sections, you can see if I click on here, I just click on here, and if I hover over here, you can see that it's basically inside and the image tag. Okay, here is it, here is it, here is it. Okay, to slow down. Yeah, here, Yep, you can see image. You can see image tag. So it's mean that we're just taking all of the image tag from it. You can see image tag. You can see image tag like that. Image tag, image tag, image tag, image tag, image tag. Okay, we're taking all of the image tag from here. Okay, that you can see on here. See in the image dimensions. Okay, image dimensions. Like that. So all of them have the image tag itself. So we're just going to taking here all of the image tag from it. Okay, so you can see that image tag. And then in removing the Google logo from it, in some time it actually have the Google logo. So you're just going to remove this one because you're going to parsing it from this Google search API. So if the length of the image tag is less than greater than equal to 1, you're just going to deleting the image tags if it is have. And then you're going to store it inside and list. Why? Because we have all of the links of the what is called of the images. So then after that you're going to enumerate all of the data from here. I mean enumerate all of the image tags because we're taking here all of the image tags, and inside this image tags we have our links. We're just taking here all the links. Now enumerate to the image tag as well as index. Now based on the image tag we have our source. If I go inside the application again and let's search for the Python again, and then if I go inside the inspect sections, here you go, inspect, and then if I go inside sections, and now if I hover over here, okay, here is it. थोड़ा slow कर रहा है मेरा laptop. So you can see if I click on here, so you can see image tag. Yep, you can see here one the current source. You can see here one URL as well. Okay, inside the source. I need to stopping this and close this one. Okay, I don't know why it's not working in the case of Brave. I can go on here again and I can just hover over here. Here you go, and click on, and you can see here and the image dimension of the source. I can just click this one. Okay, you can see source. So this is the source actually. You can see this is the source. Quite big link. Because source, we're just taking here the source tag from it. Okay. So we can go on here. We're just taking here the source tag because inside the source tag we have our image URLs. So if we have the image URL, we're taking the content from it. So taking here request.get image URL.content from this the data, we basically taking the contents, and then you can store it os.path.join save directory, and you give it here a query or index number. Let's say Python 0, Python 1, Python 2, Python 3, like that. I mean the image name, and you're going to storing here the 20 image. And you give it here file path, I mean the image extension that's called a JPEG. And with open of the file path WB as if we're just going to writing this content, and after that you can store it inside this image data. So why we store it image data? Because so that we can actually add it to our MongoDB database, so that you can add it to later on. Okay, and then you can see accept the continue. If you get any kind of error, even though you need to continue because it was searching for the images. The most important crucial part is continue here. Why continue? Because let's say I get here on embedded URL, so I don't get it, so I need to continue searching for the for the images, right? And after that I'm going to store it in the MongoDB. So pymongo.mongo client, and here is MongoDB localhost 27017. Okay, let us open here our MongoDB compass so that you can easily see it correctly. So all right, so you can see here the MongoDB compass. Just go on the Google and search for that, the MongoDB compass, or just install the MongoDB. And you can see MongoDB localhost 27017. So I just copy here this link, this URL. Now click on connect, and it will connect into the MongoDB database. So you can see here I already have the image script. This is the database name. I'm just going to delete this out. So let's say, okay, I can close it. Let's say image scrap. And now let's delete this one because I need to store the data on here. So I can go on here now. Now you can see the Mongo or pymongo.mongo client. We just give it to here this link that you can see in here, localhost 27017. And then we creating here a client of image script. I mean, you're going to creating here a database name called the image script. And then we have some columns. We need to have some columns. So just give it a column that's called image script data. And we insert the many because we have many of the name, many of the images. That's why you're using here insert many. And then after that, you're rendering the template and passing here successfully saved the images inside our image directory. Why? so that you can see an message in our applications in after here. Okay, because if I see on here index.html, it is passing it here. If the message is coming up, then it will just show the message in the loading status as well. Okay, and then after that, if you get any exceptions, it will also store it inside a log file, as well as it will pass the message call something went wrong and try again. And after that, you give it to the port number, let's say 800 8000. You can give it to here or make it blank. It will just running in the 5000 port. Okay, now this is how the code is look like. Now let's try to running it out. So I'm going to running this out, and it's running this out, and after that you can store we can testing this out. Okay, so let's try to testing it out. Go on here, let's reload the applications, and now you can see application reloaded. We can go on the full screen mode. Now this time you can say that the OpenAI, we can say that, let's say open AI, like that, or you can click on search. Now it will try to finding the images from the Google and try to searching this out and store it inside the image directory. Okay, I hope so it will storing that. Okay, this site cannot be reached. If I go on here, any error, so you can see that it will creating here an images folder. So why it say that the images is not okay, to continue this out. Anything wrong maybe? So you can go on here, let's open AI. Okay, we already stored the images on here. So OpenAI. Okay, all of the images is stored on here. Maybe somebody's crash. Yep, you can see successfully saved 20 images for the OpenAI. Maybe it may be happen just because of the recording is running, as well as the browsers have the visuals to record. That's why. But yeah, it's working fine. You can see that it's storing here the OpenAI of the 19 images. 19 images. Okay, so 20 images. Okay, you can see that. So you can easily using those images for the image classifications. You can give it to here any kind of name. You can give it to here any kind of name. Let's give it to here, let's say the Elon Musk, or let's say Robert, let's say Robert Gr. I don't know, Robert Downey Jr. Let's make it Robert Gr. Or I can say the Iron Man. So let's say Iron Man. Now let's click on search, and it is scraping the images, and then after that it will store it inside our same images folder. You can see the loading bar. Inside loading bar. Yep. Now you can see successfully saved 20 images for the Iron Man. You can also see that it's removing the space from here because we already discussed about that. So now I'm going here and images sections, and now it's Iron Man. Yep. Iron Man, Iron Man, Iron Man, Iron Man. Cool. We see that all of the images is stored inside the image directory. Now what about the databases? So if I go inside this MongoDB, the compass, and if I reload it, and you can see image scrape, and if I just open it out, image scrape data, you can see that. Now inside that, you can see that all of the image URL. So you can see image URL with the ID. You can see image URL. All of the image URL is stored it inside our MongoDB database. You can also export the data. You can export the data. You can export it the full collection. You can export it. Okay. So that's all about the full tutorial. I hope you enjoy this full tutorial, and make sure to subscribe to channels and share it with your friends so that you will notify how the new videos coming up in our multiple series. Namaste and bye bye.